So what we'd like to talk about next is getting the work done, workflow management. So now let's go on to overview number 3. In overview number 3, I'm going to show you the exact process we use to manage workflow so 8 hours of work gets done in 4 hours. The most important part of this overview 3 is that we're going to drive all of our tasks to the lowest possible cost per transaction. Now I'll tell you what that means. If I've got somebody in my office and the burden rate of that person is $65 an hour, I can't have that person doing reconciliations. So if I've got a reconciliation that comes in, I need to drive that down to $36 an hour in burden rate, or like my wife does, she drives it down. She actually pays $8.50 per hour in burden rate for reconciliations. That doesn't mean we change the fee that we charge a client. That means that we've taken advantage of our internal productivity and we've taken advantage of our today's technology to drive a faster, better, and cheaper operation. We're doing work faster and cheaper than any one of our competitors, which, by the way, is a big advantage. If I go in a competitive situation for accounting and I'm getting my 8 hours of work done in 4 hours, and I'm getting those hours instead of $36, on average 15, and that's the total scope of average from CPA down to data entry. If I'm getting it done at 15, half the price, that means I have a 75% cost advantage over the accountant down the street. Now, do I discount 75%? No way. But I do discount about 10%, and that's usually enough to snag the deal. And that's one of the reasons that my wife's business is so profitable. I'm not an accountant. I'm a salesman and I'm an engineer and I know a little bit about software. And when I watched how hard she was working and how little she was making, I said, honey, there is a better way to run an accounting practice. Why don't we turn it into an accounting business and run it the way that other successful companies run? Let's see if we can make your firm into a Walmart on a mini scale. And that's exactly what we've done with the paperless overnight. Now, let's go to this slide because this one's an important one. This is called bottom up. This is a new philosophy that you've not heard of. It's a brand new way to manage workflow. It's built to cut your operations cost by 25%. This is where we're talking about going paperless, going from 8 hours to 6 hours, dual monitors, 6 hours down to 4 hours. But it reduces the work that reaches the firm owner's desk, and it allows the firm owner to stop working. Let's just look at a couple of slideshows real quick. In the past, when work comes in, the boss, the firm owner, is the one that goes out, sees the client, gets the work. He assigns it to the managers, who then delegate it to the staff. It's then sent back to managers for review, and the owner sends it back out to the client as delivered product. This bottom-up delegation system is a 10,000-year-old system. This top-down workflow makes the owner of the firm the hardest working person in the office. So while the owner's in the middle of the workflow, they have less time to do the two most important things that they've really got to get done. Remember, they're the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer. What's that mean? That means you're in front of clients, solving high-value problems. It does not mean that you're managing the staff back at the office. The office can manage itself if you have an operations manual, a workflow process, a way to track productivity. The office can take care of itself. Let's get the firm owner out the door so they can do the two things: build relationships, and the number 2 item, create new and better systems for delivering the services. This 10,000-year-old system doesn't even give the people that work for you an opportunity to shine. You know, most of the things that come in to need to be done in the accounting office, there are staff people that can do this just perfectly. But for some reason, everything has to cross the boss's desk for what they call quality control. And so they anoint themselves as the master of all product, and they have to look at everything that goes out the door. That's just plumb nuts. And the client has no... It's just plumb nuts. It makes you the hardest working person. What we do here is we use a bottom-up process. All workflow goes directly into the lowest paid person. And that lowest paid person is the dot. They work for me. You pay them 15 cents to name the page. They assign the work to what you may call a technical person that does data entry. Anything the data entry person can't do, and usually that's 20 to 30% of the work, goes up to the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper can bring the work up to anywhere from 85 to 98% completion. 98% is the number that my wife works on. and then she gets the last 2%, which usually means decisions, analysis, and client relationships, talking to the client. So the most important thing to remember here is that the piece of paper is the work. That everything that happens in business generates a piece of paper. If you can attach the piece of paper, if you can grab that piece of paper, you can attach who worked on it when, you can attach the knowledge of how we get it done, you can delegate that piece of paper across your office or across the world electronically. Keep in mind the piece of paper is the task. And this brand new concept of bottom up allows you to keep driving work back down to the lowest common denominator. Your document management system, your GreenPage, is built to match the bottom-up concept, the skill chain concept, with the lowest skilled people being at the bottom. They're also the lowest burden rate, and they're accomplishing 80% of the work, hopefully. And as the work gets bumped up, because something, well, let's go back to the home office or the Home Depot credit memo. It comes in, it's too difficult for my staff person to manage, so the staff person clicks a button called up, it goes up to their manager. Then the manager can say, well, this is too tough for me, I've got to send it up to Lynn, because Lynn's the only one that knows how to do this. Or the manager says, well, I can do this easy. They click a button called record, and they do the difficult transaction. We're recording how they do it. That becomes a library of how we do it here, a built on-the-fly operations manual. This allows Lynn and her managers to constantly build instructions on how we get things done, and so that we can drive the cost of each transaction back down the skill chain. So work doesn't get to the top. That frees managers up to do higher value work for the clients. It frees the firm's owner up to get out the office, get out the door, and go bring in more business. And that's what we want to see happen. So the document management system is designed to work in this bottom-up concept. Now, each one of these line items on your GreenPage is actually a human being. You may know all the human beings at first. It'll be you, your assistant, maybe a part-time bookkeeper, but you'll know all these people. But as your firm grows, some of these people you'll never meet. Out of the 14 people that work for Lynn, she's met 3. The rest, she has no idea what they look like. She's hired them online. She worked with them slowly at first for a couple hours a week to see if they were qualified, and then was able to build relationships and do more and more of the work. She spends less than 2% of her time doing accounting and bookkeeping work today because she's built this system and used it over the last 4 years. Now keep in mind, everybody uses dual monitors. When a document comes into any person on our system, at each level, each one of our staff people have 3 choices. I can go ahead and do the work because I've got the document on one side, the software on the other, or I can send this piece of paper, the work, back to the client because it's a $25,000 sales order in a candy shop, and that makes no sense. So we can send that piece of paper back to the client, or we can bump that piece of paper up the skill chain because my boss is the only one that knows how to do it. So this opening a task and making these 3 choices, what we tell our staff is you have the rule of 2. If this task takes more than 2 minutes, then it's confusing you. And I want you to go on to the next one. Move this task up, leave a note of why you're confused, and move this task up to the manager or back out to the client, but get done with this one and go on to the next. That's another reason why we see our workflow get compressed, because we don't spend time sitting around trying to figure out how to do things. We do it or we get rid of it. Now, the next time this hard job comes up, I've got that library that the manager created, so I'm not going to be a doofus forever. I'm just going to be a doofus on this one job. So from this accountant's master page, you're going to be able to control the entire workflow process. Lynn can see how many pages each one of her people have on their desk. She knows exactly what's going on at all times and how long it took. Every morning her staff comes in, they click on their name, a list of tasks comes up, and they can pick the first thing they do is go to the priority to see if anything's an emergency, and they click on that and get it taken care of. Then they sort their work by client, because one of our staff people may do 4 or 5 different clients, and they do one client at a time. Simply clicking on each task, bring the page up, they complete the task, working on 2 screens, leave notes, and go on. So they're always tracking their work, they're always working on dual monitors, and the system is automatically recording how long each document is open. From this accountant's master page, she can see who's delegated work. She can track by clicking on the reports button exactly how long it took everybody to get their task done. So just the fact that everybody knows that they're being timed seems to rush our jobs through a little bit quicker. Since the system tracks quality, any errors are tracked in the system, then we have a running dialogue or running count of mistakes that are made. We even seem to have notched up our quality control a couple of points. So we have quick work, getting done fast, with complete transparency of exactly what's going on. Okay, so that ends our system on how to get the work done faster, better, and cheaper. Now, this is the overview. We'll delve into this in detail as we go along. Each line item on your Delegation Magic and on your green page, the document Paperless Overnight for Accountants, has little video icons. If you click on the video, you'll see just a very short, brief video. Here's how to use this part of the system. We're hoping that you initiate this or introduce this to all of your clients, and you're able to go totally paperless, not just the outsourced clients, all your clients, because you're going to generate some profit. There's revenue there to be generated. That's a topic for a later discussion. You're going to find new opportunities as you take your clients paperless and you see more of their documents come through. You're going to ingratiate yourself with your clients, because you remember that 8 hours of work getting done in 4 hours. The same thing happens to your clients in their business. They're able to get work done faster, better, and cheaper, just like you can.